Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to Vote for Holt. I'm your host, Jameson.
And I'm Julian.
And today we're knocking off another Nancy Drew themed top 10. Today we are tackling the top 10 best rooms that Nancy stays in.
I don't know whether a number of you guys thought we were joking about this list.
I thought we were, so.
I was not joking. This is gonna be a good list because I think rooms Nancy stays in, it's important. It sets the tone for the game in a way.
Yeah, a lot of the time, Nancy's bedroom in a game will be her home base. It's the home plate where you feel safe in a Nancy Drew game. And I think that, in the end, gives a pretty good impression. It's the first taste in your mouth when you get into a new Nancy Drew. At least most of the time it is. So in short, kind of trying to constitute this list by just rooms that Nancy can sleep in. There is one exception that we were a little bit forgiving with, and we'll get to that when we get there, because we thought it'd be just a nice surprise on this list. But regardless, there were only about 11 or 12 candidates in the first place, so we're going from slightly more drab rooms in the franchise all the way up to the cream of the crop, the best rooms that Nancy has the fortune to stay in.
Coming up at number 10 on our list for the best rooms Nancy stays at, we have Nancy's hotel room in the Haunted Carousel.
Now, this is the only bland, so to speak, hotel room that makes it onto this list, because there's a lot of just terrible motels that Nancy stays at. Game 6 has a really bland motel and stuff like that.
There's nothing too crazy going on here, except that it does have a light theme with the anchor and ship.
I love the wallpaper. The wallpaper is what got this room number 10 on this list.
Because it's like a nautical theme park, you know, so it makes sense that there's like subtle nautical vibes here in the room.
And who could forget the operator, the hotel operator phone, who gives Nancy free room service.
There's that.
I gotta love her snarky commentary with the amount of calories on whatever Nancy orders. She's got all sorts of fun dialogue.
Mm-hmm. And it also offers the most deadly game over sequence in Nancy Drew history.
The ironing board cannot be overlooked or understated. That thing is lethal. Mm-hmm. We messed up on that in our Let's Play. And so, it was far from our first time playing the game. Watch out for the ironing board, it's treacherous. Coming in at number 9, we have on the complete opposite end of the spectrum, most likely the most illustrious hotel that Nancy ever stays at. So illustrious that they have a Pentagon war room in the basement, and that is the Silent Spy. Now, the Icicle Lodge. I didn't even know that name before we made this video, which will tell you why this didn't score any higher than number 9 on our list. This room is golden. It has an orange glow coming into the windows, the fine velvet handcrafted chairs, tapestries and curtains all around.
I'm a big fan of the furniture. This is a hotel room that I would be like honored to stay at. This looks pretty nice. But it also doesn't serve all that much to the game, other than it being like a pretty place. There's nothing that's like personal, nothing really gravitates to you in there. There's a few times that you have to go there. There's stuff in your closet. There's a few things that you have to discover here and there, but
really, I'd say that the puzzles are split between this room and Zoe's room, which is identical. And of course, Nancy has to zip line across a courtyard in broad daylight. It's ridiculous, but still, it makes for an interesting challenge.
There is also a very, very unique sequence in which we're being shot at.
Yes, that was fun too, when the squibs go off and there's straight up a laser sight in Nancy's eyes and the actual bullets are fired in the direction of Nancy Drew, so to speak. So this is definitely one of the more exciting rooms, but in terms of sentimentality, you know, it's a bit of a cold case. Nancy's there on grim business investigating the death of her mother.
I would say that there's just no personality to it. Other than Nancy's suitcase, there's nothing really personal to Nancy. You can like fidget with the flowers at some point.
And I'd hardly call it the most interesting room within the Icicle Lodge itself.
Yeah, it's just lacking personality. Coming in at number 8 on our list, we have a room with a lot more personality, in my opinion, that being the room that Nancy and Helena stay in at the Canis Costa in the Phantom of Venice.
Say one thing for the personality, this place has a lot of history. The Ca itself is like an ancient Venetian palazzo that's being restored by the art student Colin Baxter, or Justin Beaumont, whatever he is. He's probably Batman by night. Bottom line, the Canis Costa is a very pretty palazzo, I think is the word for it. It's an Italian palace, really, and it's right on the waterfront of the canals, as most places are in Venice, and Nancy gets her own little dressing wardrobe. The curtains are absolutely stunning. It's like the same red as the final scene, but without the, terrifyingness to it.
I personally like that Nancy shares the room.
Yeah, that's fun. When Nancy has a roommate, it adds, like you said, a whole new level of personality to it.
The primary color for the room is like a darker red. It's definitely maroon, and it's just fitting. It feels like
a furnace. Something
feels a little intimidating about it, and maybe that's because we literally get broken into in the middle of the night and there's like a phantom standing over her bed or something.
That was a very interesting part of the game. I love the little back deck balcony. I love that you can go out to the balcony and see the canals too. It's really, to me, why I think that this one has a leg up over Silent Spy. It's a room with a view, and I love that.
The balcony is so nice, and I love the curtains that overlook it and everything.
Overall, the Canas Costa is not always the most friendliest place in a Nancy Drew game, seeing as, you know, everyone there is an absolute viper. But in terms of having a nice little home base that Nancy can call her own, I definitely love her little corner of the Canas Costa. Even if she has to share one side of it with Helena, it's nice to be able to dress up in the weird cat suit and go through all the different encounters that happen in this room. Whether she's turning green from tainted sausages or getting her locket stolen in the dead of the night. Coming in at number 7, it's hardly unique when compared to all the other rooms in this game, but it certainly does have a lot of goings-on. And that is game number 23, Shadow at the Water's Edge, Nancy's room at the Ryokan.
I love this room because it's so simple but traditional, and there's fun to be had in it, because when you're grading those papers, that's what takes over. You're just having the time of your life.
Say what you will about grading the papers, I remember this room best for all the different hauntings that go on in here.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, just on the first night Nancy stays at the Ryokan, you have the shadow figure on the balcony.
And the most vivid one for me, honestly, is when it's just very subtle when you walk in and Nancy's red is changed from black font to red font.
Yeah, her name that was written, the calligraphy.
Yeah, that was a really cool detail. And there's just subtle things like that make this room so cool.
One thing,
there's no real furniture in it.
Yeah, one of the things you said it was simple, and I think a lot of that goes into the traditional Japanese architecture. Yeah. Nancy's bed is, like a mat on the middle of the floor. Forgive us for being uncultured swines. I don't know what any of this furniture is called, but I'm told that that's traditional in a lot of Japanese Ryokan-style traditional inns.
This wasn't like her interactive being lazy. This was like just following.
This was her interactive being accurate. And at one point of the game, of course, Nancy obtains a key card that allows her to go through pretty much all the different rooms, and you can see that they're all the same, but not in like a cookie cutter way, but in more of a uniformity, traditional way.
One thing that I have to say that I think is relevant to this room is this is the most terrifying game, and when you're playing a terrifying game, it's safe to have a safe spot. And I definitely, whenever I get freaked out, I either run to the garden area or I just run up to Nancy's room because I just have faith that I won't get slaughtered there by a ghost girl.
Anyhow, before we move on, one little note that I wanted to put on about the eeriness of this game is that with Nancy's students that she can grade the notes for, there is actually one that was recently brought to my attention on the channel. A user commented on it and said that she didn't know if we'd seen it before. Sakara is the name of the student. The notes very clearly imply that she is supposed to be Samara from The Ring, the little ghost girl. Did I show you this? No? Oh gosh, I should, because it reads here, Nancy Drew Times posted this. Sakura, I, interests, enjoys playing by the seaside, cliffs, very interested in wells, very quiet and prone to making cryptic statements that the other children find disturbing.
What the heck?
Exactly. That's the thing that's so cool. Nancy can grade the homework because she's an English teacher by day in this game, but one of the students is very clearly supposed to be a nod to the horror movie The Ring, or Ringu, the Japanese version.
Coming in at number 6 on our list, we have the dorm room in Mornings at Waverly Academy.
Now this, I'd say, is definitely the most casual place Nancy ever stays. She moves in at the end of a semester into a girls' private boarding school, and she has a roommate who's very clearly not the person everyone wants as a roommate.
Yeah.
But it's fun, it's cozy.
It is fun, okay? Now listen, I've said this a few times. I played Mornings at Waverly growing up as a kid, and it didn't rub me the same as when I replayed it after going to college and spending a year or two in the dorms. Because that made the game so much more fun. So when I go to the dorms, and I'm there with Corinne, and she's blabbing about her homework or guy problems or any of that, it just feels natural. It feels so much fun to be in this cramped little dorm room.
And part of it is not just that Nancy has her own little cramped dorm room to call her own, but that she can go to everyone else's room too and see how other people choose to decorate. I'll never forget the absolute blast the first time I played this game when I went next door and saw that our neighbor was a full-blown goth. I thought that was so cool.
This room doesn't offer much utility. Obviously, there's a ton of scripted events in there, seeing as there's a suspect who is staying in there for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, and we said before that, like, having Helena share a room with Nancy was cool, but it's nowhere near as dynamic as Nancy sharing a room with Corinne.
Yeah, Helena is never in the room.
Only during a cutscene.
Well, yeah, right. But what I'm saying is, having Corinne in there, that was a lot of fun, and there's the black cat note to be found, too, that's under your desk.
There's so much that happens in there. You can set your alarm for the middle of the night, and then go climbing out the window Mario to chase after a squirrel. A ridiculous puzzle, but the whole sequence is a lot of fun.
Yeah. I only wish that there was more customization. Like, well,
Yeah.
I mean, it makes sense because Miss Becca Sawyer didn't have any of her luggage brought over, so she couldn't really spruce things up.
Yeah.
But it did feel a little too bland for a dorm room.
Still, I think that it's kind of goofy for Nancy to be moving in the middle of a semester. The room still has the decorations of the previous girl who was in it. I think it was either Megan Vargas or the other one. I'm not sure which girl it was. Regardless, Waverly Academy is definitely a very fun room for Nancy to stay in. I definitely always enjoy starting off that game with a little chit-chat with our new roommate. Coming in at number 5 now, for the best rooms that Nancy stays in for the franchise, we have game number 16, The White Wolf of Icicle Creek. Now, Julian was the one who really wanted this one on the list.
Yes, I was pushing for this a lot more than Jamie did. I love this theme. Well, I love the entire theme of, like, this old rundown lodge up in northern Canada.
Very rustic, yeah.
But it feels so warm and cozy, especially in the rooms. And I love the animal themes that go...
Yeah.
It's not just the animal themes, because, you know, there's, like, a different animal on all the doors. But it's like, there's antlers on the towel racks, and there's subtle things like that. The blankets feel... They just look so thick, and feels natural. The room looks so pleasant to be in.
Okay, now the reason...
I also just love wood.
Julian and I have a bit of a different taste on this one. He sees it as the perspective of, you know, visiting the lodge and how much you'd like to. Whenever I think of this room, I think of it as the perspective of being the maid and having to go through all the time and take everyone's laundry and make their beds, and that just rubs me the wrong way.
That was still fun to me too. The maid work never ever bothered me because it was fun to snoop and investigate. It was just the cooking that sucked.
Yeah.
And I would love to stay here at Icicle Creek Lodge. It just feels so right.
I love the orange glow of the chandelier, and I love the big snowy window she's got over her bed. But really, to me, I just can't escape the feeling that it's my responsibility. I have to keep this room clean.
No, you just need to get past that. When it's all said and done, this is the coziest place Nancy's ever stayed. And I will die on that hill.
Well, when you said it with the snowiness outside, I guess I can see that, yeah.
Coming in at number 4 on our list for the best rooms Nancy stays in, we have game number 24, The Captive Curse.
Captive Curse goes overboard with the Bavarian theme. This whole place that Nancy stays at, Castle Finster, it's supposed to be Bavarian to the point that it's kitschy. So much so that everyone there who works there hates that. But Nancy's room is just so pretty, regardless.
I love the bed and the banisters hanging over the bed and everything.
The crazy canopy bed, it's so cool.
Now it is pretty cramped.
It is one of the more cramped rooms, but there's a lot that goes on there.
Yeah, it's very important. Most notably, there is a secret passageway in the room. That just shot it way up the list.
I mean, secret passageways are one thing. Lucas puts a bucket of water over your door at one point, and you get jump scared when you try to leave your room.
There's like, I'm using hauntings in quotes, but like when you go back and all of your clothes are torn up.
And Nancy's forced to wear this Bavarian dress. That's so creepy too.
Now, Jamie's favorite part for sure.
Oh yeah.
Jamie.
The phone.
Yeah, the phone is so cool.
The phone. This game is my favorite game for phone contacts. That's kind of weird to say, I guess. But Nancy has this dumb cuckoo clock Bavarian house phone. And it's not just the phone that's cool, because, you know, Nancy has to use the landline for everything in this game, because cell reception is notorious up there, as Marcus would say. But it's that she has a window with, like, active movement and ambience outside of it, and you can see all sorts of weird, creepy stuff going on in the distance.
The furniture is so intricately carved, too, in this room. Like, looking at the wooden panels on the wall and everything, it's just...
Everything looks very antique.
I seriously want to stay here. Yeah, antique, that's the word. It feels so right. And whether or not it's artificial or not, it definitely fits the Bavarian theme, and they get an A+ for it.
What gets me the most about this room is that it feels just like a period piece. It looks right out of the times. That's probably the one thing that this castle gets right about their whole authentic Bavarian experience, is the setting looks really authentic. The people and the way they talk, not so much. So otherwise, I think it deserves its spot in number 4. Moving on now to number 3. Here's the screwball that we had fixed for you guys that I didn't think people would be considering. Game number 25, Nancy's own bedroom. Now this one, really, it's in every game. And I know you don't actually sleep in it in Alibi and Ashes, but you do wake up there at the beginning of Ghost of Thornton Hall. So if you wanna play technicalities with this room, Nancy's in here all the time. I think games 14 and up, the games literally start at the desk with Nancy in her room.
Bit of a controversial placement, but it was very nice to actually be able to roam around Nancy's center of operations, my desk.
Go ahead and poke around. Okay, we gotta stop before we do the whole thing. Okay, but yeah, it's really cool in Alibi and Ashes when you play as Best, George, or Ned, and you go up there to the Drew home for the first time, and you get to have full roam of Nancy's room. The best part to me is that besides the lockpicking kit and stuff like that you're sent to get, it is packed full of Easter eggs and fan art and stuff from other games. It's so cool. It's a very big change of color palette from the past rooms on this list. You know, it's got like a nice yellow carpet, the walls are all white. It's a very bright and sunny room. And the same goes for the rest of the house that Nancy gets to go through.
The best part is just all the little clever things that are hanging up. Like that one, what is it? It's like a cabinet that has like the monster doll from Captive Curse in there, and it also has like Venetian masks.
It's got so much stuff. There's the Ransom of the Seven Ships. There's
There's just a lot, and they're all very subtle throwbacks to past games.
Pretty much everything in this room is an Easter egg.
Yeah, and it also establishes that Nancy's favorite color is yellow.
Yeah, that too.
Moving on to number 2 on our list for the best rooms Nancy ever stays at, we have the Chinese-themed room in Message in a Haunted Mansion. Game number 3, might I add.
Now, Message in a Haunted Mansion. This game was very interesting because the whole theme of the mansion is that every room is apparently given a special weird theme, and we see that the basement is a saloon, and Abby's room is all celestial and stuff like that, and the Nancy's room is Chinese themed, and there's like a crazy dragon on the mantle. I love the poem on the wall. The poem is so cool. Did you guys know that Her Interactive actually sells tapestries with that poem printed on it?
I want to buy one so bad. I might get one for college.
We should get something like that. They sell blankets with it too. But yeah, the tapestry is so cool to me because it's a huge integral puzzle. The entire endgame challenge takes place in this room, which I think is interesting. The wallpaper itself is just a very pretty red and gold texture.
The tapestry next to Nancy's bed, I don't even know how to unpack that, but it's beautiful. And I love all of the different furniture, like all the little drawers that keep the lamps up and everything, and the dragons. The dragons!
Dragons are all over the place. It's crazy. It's like House Targaryen
this
here.
one. It also has the scariest haunting of all time.
Oh, yes.
The note being slipped under the door.
Oh, how terrifying.
A letter. Oh, hey, it's the Message in a Haunted Mansion.
Yeah, it's funny to think that whoever's staying in this room is unaware that they're sleeping next to a $1 million ruby.
Yeah. Bottom line, it's the game where Nancy first travels with her suitcases and has all sorts of stuff in there.
That's true.
This was a time before they could even really put in Easter eggs from past games, so that was just cool to see the classic old-gen Nancy suitcase.
It introduced the mom jeans, it has a very clear theme, and it's very relevant to the plot with everything that's in there. All in all, Message in a Haunted Mansion is an amazing room that I would die to stay at.
Coming in at number 1 on this list, if the room from Captive Curse was Bavarian and the room from Message in a Haunted Mansion was Chinese, I don't even know what the hell to call this room.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's for sure. We have game number 11, The Curse of Blackmore Manor. Nancy's room in this game, for one thing, is puzzle central. There are like probably 3 or 4 puzzles that her room is integral to, and they're big meaty puzzles too.
Yeah, it's the most important room in the game.
Probably. That's a stretch, but it very well might be if I think about it.
Now, hands down, the best part about this bedroom is its scripted events and nightmares that take place in it.
The nightmares are crazy.
This is the one bedroom I do not feel safe in.
And yet it takes number 1. Yeah, so this game, Nancy has so many times where she's woken by a nightmare, she's woken by strange chanting, she's woken by rattling at her door or something, or like a note getting slipped under it. And not to mention the Boar's Head Pub giving her non-stop room service with their absolute gibberish. But regardless, this room, we said we couldn't define the theme. It was first inhabited by and furnished by Brigitte Penvelin from the Ballad of Brigitte that Jane's always singing. And God, did they never redecorate, because this place is full of the weirdest occult, mythological, astrological.
And I love the huge banner tapestry thing. Like
it's
a chariot.
Apollo being pulled in a chariot.
It's just so bizarre. And that's the room for that's the word for this room. It's just bizarre.
Exactly.
The wall color palette.
It's purple walls with red chairs, and what color is the bed? The canopy? Well, I love the star charts. The star charts in this room that are all about the solstices and the equinoxes. Those are very cool. I learned more things in this game about astronomy than I did in Astronomy 101 at my college.
This room feels to me kind of like an escape room that you would go to with your friends.
I can definitely see that.
With all its puzzles and its weird theme and everything.
This is definitely a room that I would pay to get locked in for 60 minutes.
No, it's so much fun. I would stay at it despite all my terrors, but it's crazy. The room offers everything you can imagine in this game.
It's got a fireplace, a massive clock on the wall that chimes on the hour.
Fun phone contacts that you can order food to your door, to really creepy, bizarre nightmares, to awesome themed banners and astrology and puzzles. Like, it's all here, guys.
There is just so much that goes on in Blackmore Manor, and it's unreal how much of it is concentrated to Nancy's own bedroom. Well, that concludes our top 10. I really did not think we'd be making this one, but now that we've finished our list, I think that was a fun one to make.
Yeah, I'm glad. This was my idea.
It was Julian's idea. I wouldn't have gone along with it unless he forced me.
I hope you guys agreed with our list, and it's not really up for debate what else could have been on here, because like the only things we left out were like Treasure in the Royal Tower and
Deadly
like,
Device was another one. Well, the common space there.
Yeah.
We couldn't decide if like the whole lounge counted as Nancy's room, so we just decided to disqualify it. Yeah, some of these rooms Nancy never sleeps in because Captive Curse takes place in one night, and so does Carousel takes place in one day. But who cares, because it's set up with the premise that it's Nancy's room. Still.
We hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let us know what you would change if you'd change anything, because I'm curious where everyone else's favorite rooms are.
Honestly, I feel like a lot of people are going to agree that Blackmore is number one. I'm curious if anyone has a different number one besides Blackmore. Other than that, thanks for watching, everybody.
And don't forget to vote for Holt.
Vote for Holt.